You feel it. Not right away. Not when the table is about to be sat. But over time, something shifts. And somewhere in the middle of the interaction, it becomes clear. This table is going to drain you. Not because they are rude. Not because anything went wrong. But because something is off. If you have worked in the service industry, you know this feeling. It is not loud. It is not obvious. It is quiet, gradual, and consistent. Because this is where understanding begins. Hospitality professionals and service staff, if this resonates, like, share, and subscribe so we can grow a community that truly understands life on the floor. So here goes. You approach the table. You greet them clearly. You introduce yourself. They respond. Polite. Neutral. Nothing stands out. Everything looks normal on the surface. You continue. You take the order. You confirm details. You maintain tone. Everything is technically correct. But something is missing. The interaction does not build. It resets each time. There is no carryover from one moment to the next. Each return feels like a restart. You return with beverages. You place them carefully. A brief acknowledgement. Then silence. You check back. Everything good here? A short response. No continuation. No connection. You move on. Because the floor keeps moving. But something stays with you. A slight resistance. Not external. Internal. You notice it in how the interaction feels. Not in what is said. But in what is missing. You return again. You refill water. You clear plates. You anticipate needs. They respond. But only when necessary. Requests come without engagement. Answers come without awareness. There is no flow. No rhythm. Just transactions. This is where the pattern forms. Because in restaurant work, energy matters just as much as effort. Not just effort. Not just execution. Energy. And energy affects how the interaction feels over time. And when energy is one-sided, something begins to shift. You are giving. But nothing is returning. Not appreciation. Not engagement. Not acknowledgement. And over time, that imbalance creates pressure. Not visible. But real. Stay with this part. Because this is where the experience changes for the server. You begin to notice small things. Eye contact that does not hold. Conversations that do not include you. Requests that come without pause. Timing that feels slightly off. Individually, these moments are small. Easy to dismiss on their own. But together, they build a pattern. And patterns are what servers learn to read. You adjust. Because that is the role. You remain professional. You remain consistent. You deliver the same level of service. But internally, something changes. Not frustration. Awareness. Because experienced servers recognize this pattern. It is not about one moment. It is about accumulation. Small signals. Repeated over time. And those signals create a weight. Not because the table is difficult. Because the interaction is unbalanced. That imbalance requires more from you. More attention. More monitoring. More adjustment. You continue the meal. Course by course. Step by step. But the energy required feels higher. You are thinking more. Adjusting more. Monitoring more. And that takes something. It takes focus. It takes control. It takes internal effort that is not visible from the outside. This is where emotional labor becomes visible. Not to the guest, but to the server. Because service is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, constant. And when that effort is not matched in any form, it creates fatigue. Not at the end of the shift. In the middle of the interaction. That is what makes this different. This is not about one bad moment. It is about sustained imbalance. Because this is where many servers begin to recalibrate. Not react. Recalibrate. You continue. Because that is the standard. You maintain tone. You maintain timing. You maintain awareness. But you also begin to manage yourself. Where to focus. Where to conserve energy. Where to maintain pace. Because one table should not affect the entire floor. And experienced servers understand this instinctively. They do not withdraw. They do not reduce service. They adjust their internal investment. They recalibrate. They protect consistency. Without overinvesting where there is no return. This is not negative. It is necessary. Because in the hospitality industry, effort is constant. But energy must be managed. And learning to manage that energy is part of longevity in this work. It is what allows consistency across a full shift. Across multiple tables. Across repeated interactions. You reach the end of the meal. The check is placed. You give space. And the interaction closes. Not dramatically. Not memorably. Just quietly. And that quiet ending reflects the entire experience. Not bad. Not good. But draining. Because the effort required was higher than the connection created. And that difference stays with you. Not emotionally. Structurally. Because over time, servers learn to recognize where energy flows. Where it builds. And where it drains. And that awareness shapes how they move through the floor. Shift after shift. Table after table. It changes how you pace yourself. How you allocate attention. How you protect consistency. If you have worked in the service industry, you know this table. Not the worst. Not the hardest. But the one that takes more than it gives. The one that requires more than it returns. When did you first notice it? Share your experience below. Also, like and subscribe for more insights from the floor. You are among people who understand. This is the server section, and thanks for watching.